Ever stop to think about what's really in our water? I'm not talking about the big stuff, the stuff you can see. I'm talking about a pollutant that's literally everywhere, but it's almost completely invisible. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on microplastics, this hidden invasion that's, well, it's changing our planet from the inside out. Let's dig in and see what that actually means.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to tackle this in 5 parts. First, what is this invisible invasion? Then, where's it all coming from? We'll follow its journey, look at the damage it's doing, and, this is the big one, we'll talk about how we can actually fight back.
Okay, let's just dive right in with that big question. What if our oceans, our rivers, even our lakes are just swarming with a pollutant you can't even see? And here's the thing, it's not a what if, it's happening right now. So, the culprit here? It's called microplastics. We're talking about tiny plastic bits, anything smaller than about 5 millimeters. Think like the size of a sesame seed, and often way smaller. Some you literally can't see without a microscope. But what makes them a huge problem comes down to 3 things. 1, they're persistent. They basically never go away. 2, they're ubiquitous, which is just a fancy way of saying they are everywhere. And 3, they can be toxic.
Right. So if this stuff is everywhere, from the top of Mount Everest to the bottom of the ocean, you've got to ask, where's it all coming from? Let's trace it back to the source. It's kind of like an origin story for a villain. Turns out there are 2 main ways this stuff gets out there. First, you've got what are called primary microplastics. These are the ones made to be tiny from the get-go. Remember those little microbeads in face scrubs and toothpaste? That's a perfect example. But then, you've got the bigger source, secondary microplastics. This is just bigger plastic junk, bottles, bags, you name it, that breaks down into smaller and smaller pieces from sunlight and waves. So yeah, every piece of plastic litter is basically a ticking time bomb for creating more of this stuff.
And when you look at all the sources, it's kind of mind-blowing. Yeah, we all think of plastic bottles and bags breaking down, and that's huge for sure, but get this, a massive source is our own laundry. Every time you wash clothes made of synthetic stuff like polyester or nylon, they shed thousands of tiny plastic fibers that go right down the drain. And that's not all. You've got industrial pellets, bits of fishing nets. I mean, the list just keeps going. It's coming from all angles.
Let's bring this home a little more, because it's happening in places you wouldn't expect. That cozy fleece jacket? Washing it releases fibers. The plastic wrap on your food? It sheds fragments. But here's the real shocker for a lot of people. Your car tires. Just driving around creates a ton of plastic dust from tire wear. It's wild, right? These particles are being created by us, all around us, just by living our normal, everyday lives.
Okay, so we know where they're born, so to speak. But what happens then? Once they're out in the world, they go on this incredible and pretty dangerous journey. Let's follow the trail and see not just where they go, but what they pick up along the way.
All right, there are 4 things that make these little plastic bits so uniquely nasty. First, they never really go away. They're not biodegradable, so they just hang around for hundreds of years. Second, they're bite-sized, so fish and other animals mistake them for food. Third, they travel. Ocean currents can carry them literally around the globe. But this last one, this is the real kicker. Their surfaces are basically magnets for other nasty chemicals in the water. They act like these tiny toxic sponges soaking up pollutants.
And that's exactly it. They become what scientists call vectors. Think of them as toxic little delivery vehicles. The plastic itself is bad, sure, but it gets worse, because they're also carrying a payload. They mop up heavy metals and other gross stuff from the water, concentrate it, and then deliver that toxic cocktail to whatever poor creature eats it.
So this toxic journey has some serious consequences. It creates this ripple effect, a cascade of damage that hits entire ecosystems. And yeah, that includes us.
And here's how that whole thing works. It starts small. At the very bottom of the food chain, tiny little creatures like plankton eat these plastic bits. Then a small fish eats a bunch of plankton, and all that plastic builds up inside it. Then a bigger fish eats a bunch of those fish. You see where this is going, right? The plastic and the toxins get more and more concentrated as they move up the food chain, all the way up to us.
And for the animals caught in the middle, man, it's just brutal. The plastic can literally block up their insides, or it tricks them into feeling full, so they end up starving to death with a stomach jam-packed with plastic. On top of that, those toxins we mentioned start leaching into their systems, messing with their growth, their ability to have babies. The overall picture is really grim for biodiversity.
Which brings us back to the human question. What does this mean for us? Well, since we're often at the top of that food chain, we're not immune.
When we eat seafood that's contaminated, we're eating those plastics and they're toxic hitchhikers too. The science is still developing, but early research is pointing towards some scary stuff, like potential inflammation and damage to our cells.
I know. It sounds pretty bleak, but it's not hopeless. Not at all. The good news is we know what the problem is, and that means we can start to fix it. So let's shift gears. How do we fight back? There is a plan.
Now, there's no single magic bullet here. It's got to be a big 5-point attack. Step 1 is obvious. We have to cut it off at the source. That means using way less plastic and banning stuff like microbeads. Step 2 is managing our trash better so it doesn't get into the environment in the first place. Step 3, we need to upgrade our water treatment plants with filters that can actually catch this stuff. And none of that works without steps 4 and 5, making sure everyone knows about the problem and having strong policies in place to back it all up.
So if you take one thing away, let it be this. It boils down to a 3-pronged approach. We have to reduce the plastic we make, manage the waste that's already out there, and regulate the whole system. This isn't just on you or me or one company. It takes everyone, individuals, huge corporations, and governments, all working together.
And that really leaves us with one last big question. We know the problem, we know how it works, we even have the playbook on how to fix it. The solutions are right there, they exist. So the only question left is, what part are we going to play in all this?